Welcome to My Turn Podcast, a games podcast hosted by extra competitive siblings. My name's Jem, and I'm joined by my littlest, sweetest, cutest little sibling, Erim.
Oh, that's well. Oh, so cute. Oh, thank you. Hi, everyone. How are you all doing? Not that I can hear back from you, but I'm just going to assume you're all having the best day ever because you're listening to our podcast, and
Yes.
everyone has the best time when they listen to us.
Of course they do. Why wouldn't they?
Exactly.
That's not us just being narcissists. We appreciate all your listens. Also, here in the UK right now, it's so sunny.
Yeah.
Finally.
Do you know what? I swear it's like just all of a sudden switched as well. That it feels like there's not really been an in-between because it was just like, oh, it's April, weather's crap. Oh, it's May, weather's crap. And then like someone's just like switched on the light switch and it's just like, you know, I can barely keep my shorts on because it's so hot at the minute.
Well, don't take them off during the recording of this podcast, Erim.
Why?
Because I don't want to see your bum.
Well, but it's so pretty.
I saw it when you were a little boy.
Yeah, but it's grown since
you
then.
to run around naked.
Now it's hairy and a little bit spotty. And maybe I can wipe properly. Who knows?
Oh, no.
It's like a mystery.
Oversharing. No. Well, listeners, this is a gaming podcast, but because we're siblings, sometimes we digress into Erim's hairy bum content.
I feel like that needs to be like a segment or something, and we need to do like a little tune for it, like Erim's hairy bum content.
No, please no. We won't have any listeners left. But yes, it is very nice sunny weather, and I totally agree with you. We've had no spring.
Yeah,
it's just gone from really cold weather, like freezing, in fact, a few weeks ago, to summer.
Yeah. Oh, well.
What can you do?
I mean, I'm happy as long as the sun's shining. This is my kind of weather.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, it just means you don't want to be inside doing work. You just kind of want to sit outside now.
True.
But we'll do it for you, listeners. We'll do it for you. And we do have 2 games in store for you today that we're going to review. Both on the creepy end of the spectrum, I'd say. What game are you going to be talking about today, Erim?
I'm going to be talking about Limbo today, actually. So I spoke about Inside previously, which is like, I guess like the successor to Limbo. Yeah. So I've kind of gone backwards, but yeah, quite interesting actually.
Okay, save it for the review.
Sorry. Yeah. Okay. But like, all right. I'll save it. I'll save
it for the review. So we will be reviewing these games, and I've also got an oldie but a goodie. I'm going to be talking about Alan Wake Remastered, which, if you listen to our friends over at Horror Hangout. Our friends over at Horror Hangout podcast, I did a in-depth, I think it was about 2-hour discussion with the guys at Horror Hangout podcast about Alan Wake and our feelings towards it. It wasn't a review as such. I'd say it was more of a deep dive. So if you've played the game and if you love the game, and also if you love a horror genre content in general, definitely check out Horror Hangout podcast. They're great. They're doing great things. And I appear on one of their Patreon exclusives, which I think is now available in the main stream. But yeah, go and check those guys out anyway, because they're great. But yes, I've been saving it for a while because I didn't want to review it twice in close.
Yeah, you've spoken quite a lot about it actually. I think like off air.
Yeah, and
podcast.
On air a bit as well, because I love it. It's one of my favourite games. So I guess let's do some games reviewing, shall we, Erin?
Yeah. Do you want to go first or shall I go first? I mean, traditionally I go first. I'm quite happy to go first.
Okay, then you go first. Okay, so as is tradition on My Turn podcast, I'd like you to tell me about the game in a nutshell. And if you can give me a nut.
Yeah.
A type of nuts to go with the game.
Well, I don't...
or seed. I'll let you have a seed.
A seed? Apple seeds, because they're quite dark and they've actually got cyanide in them, I think, or something, or like arsenic.
Didn't we talk about this last time we did a games review? And I said that and said it had arsenic in it, and you said it was cyanide or something. Like I was the wrong way round.
Maybe,
and you corrected me.
No, I think you said arsenic and I said cyanide. All right, what is it? Oh. Fuck, I can't remember what
I get confused which one is which. One of them smells like almonds, and that's the one that's in the seeds.
Yeah.
So that one.
Damn.
Poison.
Is there another
Basically
poisonous seed? Or I can't think of any poisonous nuts.
I think a lot of seeds are poisonous.
All right, I tell you what, it's a peanut if you've got a peanut allergy. Very tasty.
That took a dark turn. Yes, all right. Okay, got
Very
it.
tasty, but fucking, deadly as shit.
Deadly. Tasty but deadly. All right, okay, so tell me about the game in a nutshell, in the peanut shell then.
In a dead peanut shell. So the game, so it is described as a trial and death style game. Because basically you're launched into this very like artistic black and white kind of dream world in which everything wants to kill you. And you have to solve the puzzles like how to not die basically. And you know, I think literally as soon as we started, because I was playing it with my partner, the first thing I said to her was, "You're going to die." And she was like, "No, I'm not." She tumbled down a cliff and died within like a split second of me saying that. And that's just basically the setup for the entire game. Everything wants to kill you. God knows why. But yeah, just be wary of everything and hope for the best.
Great, nice nutshell. So tell me who's the game by? When did it come out?
Oh, so the release date is actually 21st of July 2010. The developers are Playdead. And then it was published by Microsoft Game Studios. It's on pretty much all major platforms. So like,
I think it's on all the things.
I think from like Xbox 360, PlayStation 3 onwards. Also including Nintendo Switch, apparently iOS. I don't know. I've not checked on Mac, and also on Android as well. So yeah, pretty much available everywhere, and it's a good job that it is. Because I think it is, a really cool game.
It is a true sort of, I'd say, platform reinvention classic that then went on to inspire a lot of other tonal.
Definitely.
Yeah, kind of tones of franchise and a more adult approach to platformers, I think.
Yeah.
Great. So what was your expectation going into this game?
Well, like I said, because I'd played Inside before, I was kind of expecting something very similar, and I wasn't disappointed at all. In fact, actually, it's going to slightly change my view on Inside, and I would like to adjust what I said about Inside, because for me, I actually think they're the exact same game.
Okay, interesting. So, talk to me about the gameplay then. How does it work? What do you do apart from try not to get killed by everything? I mean, I've played it as well, but not all the way through. It
is very basic, like left, right, jump over things. You can interact with things like pull. So like your interaction with the environment, you haven't got a lot of options to do, but the environment is quite diverse. So the way you interact with the environment changes and adapts per, level. It's not really segmented into levels as such, but it feels
it's
like
an obstacle by obstacle, isn't it? From what I remember.
That's a good way of thinking of it. Yeah, you've got, I don't know, probably about 30 or 40 obstacles in the whole game. And each one is slightly different. There will be certain mechanics that are borrowed from one to the other, but the game just evolves with you. It just gets progressively more difficult. But I think the obstacle, I'll come back to this when we go into what's good, what's bad, but I think the obstacles are done in a way that it's not repetitive at all, to be honest.
And it's always a side scroller, right?
Yeah, it's always side scroller.
Yeah.
So it is like an old school kind of 2D. Oh, what would you call it? 2.5D, because there is, I guess, depth visually.
Yeah,
you don't really interact with anything that is in the background as such. Yeah.
I know what you mean. And talk to me about the sort of style and design of it as well.
style and design is just
like,
really,
what does it look
yeah,
and feel
I mean,
like?
aesthetically, I think it's really well done. I mean, I I don't want to use the word beautiful, but it definitely has a bit of like a creepiness, kind of, I guess, like a noir version of like a Tim Burton-y kind of thing. It's really well done. The use of just that, is it monochrome? I think is
yes,
the correct
it
term.
is.
Just
almost entirely black and white game, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
I think there might be shades of sort of beige in there, maybe for highlight, but basically black and white.
Yeah, pretty much. But that really just like helps encapsulate the atmosphere that it's trying to create. So I think they've done a really good job in terms of the art style and the atmosphere that it all creates. Like it all just, it feels really, really thoughtful. I think even more so than Inside. Like, the atmosphere I got from this game was just a lot more gripping.
Okay, well, talk to me about the positives then. What really stood out for you as being good about this game?
I didn't hate it.
Wow!
I tell you what, I really
spoilers for the Inside
it.
Review. Erim played it, completed it, hated almost every moment of it because he found it too horrible.
Yeah, it was gross. It actually grossed me out playing it. Whereas this game, no, it didn't really get that impression. To be honest, it was maybe. I don't know, actually. I don't know, because I'm trying to think. Maybe it was a bit more cartoony, but it wasn't particularly more cartoony. I'm really trying to think what it was.
I mean, I haven't played Inside. I've played bits of this and sort of helped my husband play this. Is Inside more sort of gratuitous? What I mean by that is the violence in it, does it feel like it's just there just to gross you out, or does it feel like it serves a purpose? Whereas in Inside, from what I remember, it's like the obstacles themselves are dangerous. So when you die trying to get away from something or cross something, it's part of that.
I really don't know.
I don't know because I haven't played Inside.
There is just definitely something about the execution of this game that I just think is just better than Inside. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I said, the atmosphere and things like that, and the puzzles. I didn't feel like I was, just completing it for the sake of completing it. I really don't know what it is, but there is something about this game. And I mean, obviously you can tell why it's lauded so highly because, as soon as you play it, it's just, a really, really well done game that you just feel you need to complete.
I mean, were the puzzles more satisfying, perhaps?
But getting away from, oh my god, so if you've got arachnophobia, by the way, don't play this game.
Yeah, the spider bit is quite...
Getting away from spiders was quite fun, actually. I quite like the spiders bit. I think because, do you know what, actually, now thinking about this, there's an element of living creatures, I think, a bit more in this game. Actually, no, Inside has got living creatures in it as well. I really don't know. Maybe it's because it's black and white. And maybe
Inside has got a muted palette, but it has got colour.
Yeah, it has got colour. But this is pretty much all just black and white. And I think that is just like the massive atmosphere. But okay, so let's just go back onto the positives anyway. The puzzles are good, they're challenging. They're quite creative in the ways that they kill you, I think.
Important.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, and there is a bit of, I almost find it a bit dark and comical in a way, like the way it's quite gross, like your head will just fly off kind of thing. I mean, I know it's not really meant to be funny, but there is a little bit of oh god, I've done an inevitable, I'm going to die. So it's quite funny seeing how you die from certain things. It's a creative use of their mechanics. And the world is, this is again going to Inside, it feels like the world changes about halfway through because it feels very much outdoors in this weird kind of forest, again exactly like Inside, and then when you come past a certain middle point, which seems really well defined like in Inside, because there's this epic music, it almost feels like you're at the end, and then you're in some like kind of industrial place.
Yeah, because I remember the sort of circular saws and stuff.
Yeah.
I remember helping Alex with a particularly hard sequence, getting across all these sort of like rotating death saws.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. There is a bit where like the environment actually rotates, so like the gravitational pull changes, so you have to like latch onto things to get over saws and things like that. Yeah. Like things like that, they're quite creative mechanics that I think are really, really cool. The other thing as well, I really loved the music in this game.
Yeah,
really
I was going to ask about that.
Yeah, I thought it was really, really cool. It just really sets the environment and the atmosphere really well. And like when things are challenging, you'll notice the music kind of coming in a bit more, and it'll feel a lot more theatrical and cinematic as well. So they've really, I think they've absolutely hit the nail on the head when it comes to, all parts of this game working together to create something which is really, really fantastic and completely out of my genre. I would not rush to play a game like this, but yeah, I really enjoyed it. So they've done something very good.
Oh, that's good to hear. Yeah, because I know, and if you listen back to Erim's review of Inside, he did, as I said, he got through it, but he did not really enjoy his experience at all. So it's really interesting and lovely to hear you appreciate this game in a different way. And maybe by the end of this review, Erim, you'll figure out why. But what were there any negatives then for you with this?
Not anything in particularly bad. All right, so like you kind of encounter these other people, like other human people in the game, who just seem to want to kill you as well, and are like setting some of the traps to capture you and kill you. But like once you've seen them, there's no real explanation for who they are, and you don't interact with them ever again. And like that's one thing that I found quite frustrating. And I think even I think it was the IGN review, they said something similar to that. That you just have these like living people, but you don't really understand what they're doing. Whereas with Inside, you kind of get a bit of an idea of why you're in these kind of like experiments. Like, yeah,
the ending gives you a different.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it doesn't give you a definite answer, but it kind of it's open to interpretation. And I feel like your interpretation of what's going on kind of completes the story a little bit more, whereas Limbo just seems a bit like, why were there these random people? I can understand the weird spiders wanting to kill you, but why a load of other kids trying to kill you?
And are you like a little kid?
I think you are a kid.
Right?
Yeah, it seems like a kid. I mean, you don't particularly know because you don't come across any adults.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what that reference point really would be. But it does feel like it's a kid in a nightmare kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Or in Limbo, in fact.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. I mean, another thing that I think they do quite well that kind of sums up the Limbo theme to the game is actually, and I don't know if you noticed this, but once you get to the end of the industrial bit, there's a particular part where the whole game slows down and you go through this kind of barrier and you're back at the beginning. So it feels like it's an infinite loop of the game. So you're basically back to the beginning. So you're like, oh, is that the end of the game? And then it kind of carries on from there. So I think that was quite a clever little touch there, because it was just like exactly the same intro. You wake up like on the floor in the grass, basically. So that was really, really cool. Yeah,
thematically, like I think that half our family are Roman Catholics, so we should know this. But I'm pretty sure that like one of the things is if a child passes away and they're unbaptized, then they go to limbo or purgatory.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like, I think that's the thing.
So I'm going to have to do all those obstacle courses?
Yeah, we both
Jesus Christ, I'm just going to sit there in the grass.
Although we're not children, so we might just go to hell.
Oh yeah.
It's a good thing
we're someone's children. Well, I don't know. Hell's got to be better than this, because that place looks scary as
Yeah, that place was scary as. Alrighty.
Wait.
So,
but like,
go on.
before we do move on, because now this is where I do want to address Inside, and I do kind of want to. I want Limbo's negatives.
Spoilers
actually
for
to
Insides.
Be, yeah, Inside's negatives. They're the same game. I think they've literally just used the same formula. You know, you start off exactly the same. There's the first bit where it's kind of like in a foresty, like, I don't know, urban. Is it urban or rural? That's it, kind of. Yeah, area,
urban is like a town.
And then you end up going in somewhere that's a bit more urban. Then you end up in some kind of industrial, God knows what. It's exactly the same, and I think they could have been a bit more original with that. I think they've really gone with this game was a success. Oh, let's just kind of, cookie cutter it across to our new game. And I'm actually really disappointed by it. Even things like when you get to around the middle area, you know how I was talking about the epic music, almost feeling like you're coming to a conclusion, but then the game carries on. Exactly the same thing. There's like this massive sound generator just shooting like this massive force inside, and you have to hide behind metal doors to stop it from basically destroying you. And there was just something pretty much exactly the same in Limbo. So I'm quite disappointed by that. So I think they could have been a bit more original when it comes to Inside. But that makes me love this game more, though, I think, because, it's just, I think it's done even better in Limbo. So, yeah, absolutely massive praise for this game, but it does slightly knock my impressions of the other one, unfortunately.
Interesting, because I thought when you sort of referenced it at the beginning, you were going to say it meant that you liked Inside more looking back at it, but actually it's the other way.
No,
you sort of
it is the other way,
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, as I say, I haven't played Inside at all. I've only played bits of Limbo, so I've got no reference point for that. But that's a really interesting point, and I think you find that with certain developers, especially, following a first release with a game like this, they kind of reinvented the mold a bit with this sort of very creepy, atmospheric, targeted at adults puzzle platformer. And so, maybe there was a thing of like a pressure to make something similar.
Maybe
I don't know. It's a question to ask those devs. But how do you think it's held up as a game that came out in 2010?
Yeah, I don't think it's aged in any particular negative way. To be honest, it still looks graphically great. I mean, it helps that it's an indie game and not like a AAA massive game where those kind of graphics do. Yeah, like date.
Skin realism, really, which I'll talk about a little bit in my game.
Yeah, exactly. It's benefited, I think, from the art style as well. I think it will be ageless. I think you'll play this in 30 years' time and it will still hold up in terms of like graphics and stuff like that. Definitely, and in terms of atmosphere, it really is a special, and I think a bit of a classic indie game now. And I think we'll be talking about this for many, many years to come.
Yeah, definitely. So it sounds like it totally deserves the accolades that it got. Do you have anything of note, any extra details that you wanted to tell our listeners about before we move on to ratings and recommendations? Yeah, I mean,
it's a game that, like, I suggest, if you don't want to spend a lot of time playing a game but want something really satisfying, this is like definitely the kind of game that you could go for. What was
your time to beat on this? Like, how long did it take you to beat the game?
Oh, God. Do you know what? I don't actually know. We played it across, I think, 2 days. I think it was about...
What did you play on?
We were on Switch, actually.
Okay.
I was going to say PlayStation 4, but no, it was my partner's Switch that we were playing on. It took us a couple of days basically to finish, so I'd say sub 10 hours, probably less than that, to be honest. It's not a long game, but a very satisfying game. The other thing I would say is that it's probably not something you're going to play multiple times, because once you've done the puzzles, you've done the puzzles. Once you know the kind of I don't know whether you call it a story, the theme of what actually happens at the end. You know that, like, that there's not really anything additional to go back to, but I don't think that's the point of this game. If you're into creepy games without it being like, oh no, I'm so scared, there's a zombie in my brain. Like, do you know what I mean? Like jump scare stuff.
Yeah.
Like, and it's something that just gives you that weird, like tingling, nasty sensation.
Unease.
Like, yeah, exactly. Then this game absolutely, does that. And I guess what I'm saying is actually kind of a bit of going into our recommendations, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So anyone who's into indie games, wants a quick game, and wants something that is really, really special, and to experience something that has been lauded with loads of praise. Yeah, definitely check this out. It's well worth it. And even coming from a background and someone who doesn't like these style of, like, I guess it's a puzzle platform game at its essence, isn't it? But just a very dark
I'd say
one.
so.
Yeah, like, I hate puzzles, but this was wicked. So,
well, that's
really,
encouraging.
really enjoyed it.
So
Yeah.
you'd recommend it to people who aren't like who aren't turned on by puzzles.
Yeah.
As long as they like this dark, creepy atmosphere.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not too long that it becomes frustrating and a bit laborious. I'd recommend it for everyone. Do you know what? Even kids, if you don't like the kids and you want to give them nightmares, like, if someone's misbehaved, just be like, go on, Timmy.
Parents, carers, older siblings, pay attention to the Peggy rating on this. We don't recommend it for ages younger than that unless you are supervising them. It is a bit nasty. Cool. So that brings us nicely onto your rating. Out of 10, Erim, or what do you give Limbo?
I mean, I could easily... It can't be a 10 out of 10. It literally needs to be a perfect game. But I'd say like 9, bordering on 9.5.
You could give it a 10 if you wanted to, if it's a perfect game.
No, I think... Have I given something a 10? Did I give The Witcher a 10?
Did you give what, a 10?
The Witcher. I think that's
I
the only
don't think you
game.
ever did a full review of The Witcher, did you?
Did I not?
Or maybe you did.
Oh,
no,
shit.
you must have done. You probably did give it a 10.
Oh my God. If I've not done that, like, I absolutely
You've
need
talked
to do
about
that.
it loads on the podcast,
Yeah,
but I
because
don't remember
Geralt
if
of
you
Rivia is so
reviewed
hot.
it.
I want him.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I can't disagree with that.
That'll be amazing.
Okay, so you've given it a 9.
A really, really solid 9, actually.
Okay.
Really did not expect to give it that, but hey ho, I'm all for pleasant surprises.
Yay! Happy time.
I know, right? We need like some sort of like da-da! music there. So, I guess we're over to you now. So this this game that you've been talking about for a while, Alan Wake. Can you tell us about that one, please? Sorry, I should say nutshell. Very important.
Do you know what? I haven't thought about this.
We need like I'm gonna have to like get a chart of nuts because my
do you know
knowledge
what?
of nuts isn't that good. But like,
yeah, I've got a list here in front of me.
Have you?
I've cheated. Yeah, I've got
oh my God,
a list of nuts in front of me. I'm actually going to put this in a pecan nut.
Okay.
Or pecan, as some people call it. Because pecan nuts are my favourite nuts. And Alan Wake, sorry, spoiler ahead of my review, one of my favourite games.
No way.
Yes.
No way.
So, in a nutshell, Alan Wake is described as an action-adventure game. Spoilers, it's a bit more of a survival horror, but whatever, Remedy Entertainment, you can call it what you like. It's from Remedy Entertainment, initially released in May 2020. The remastered version, which is what I'm reviewing today, was released in October 2021. And it follows the slightly disturbing adventures of Stephen King-esque author Alan Wake as his world is turned upside down on a visit to Bright Falls, which is a place that he goes to in order to get his to have a holiday, but also to get his writer's block unblocked. And that's kind of where you start the story. So yeah.
Okay, brilliant. I mean, it sounds
just
quite
adjusting
gripping
my mic.
already.
My mic's got a life of its own, which is quite fitting for this game.
It's
My mic
literally
has
just
jumped up. Yeah, it just moved. Quite fitting for this game because it is very creepy.
Okay.
Oh, hang on. Let's try and readjust this mic. So apologies, listeners.
So while you're fiddling with your mic, what were your expectations then
Sounds
going
rude.
into this game? I know it was meant to be.
So I played the original, which was, and I should say it is available on all the things pretty much, and it's coming to the remastered version of Alan Wake is coming to Nintendo Switch very soon, I believe. In the next month or so. In autumn 2022. It will also be coming to Nintendo Switch, which will be interesting. But I played this originally in 2010 when it came out.
Yeah.
It's funny, we've both got 2010 games.
What a coincidence, eh?
It was a good year for games. It was actually a pretty good year for games, if you look back. And I remember loving it. I played it on Xbox 360 at the time. I remember loving it, but being a bit too scared to maybe complete it, or really not being the kind of in the state of life where I was at home much. I was going out quite a lot, maybe drinking quite a lot, partying quite a lot. I think I was single at the time. So, less interested in being indoors with my Xbox and my housemate. Me and my housemate, Tim, who's often on the podcast as well.
You mean our adopted brother?
Our adopted brother, exactly.
Yes.
I just remember loving it, and I think I got about halfway through. So it's a fairly short game. You can beat the game in about 12 hours. And it's split into 6 chapters, which is quite fitting because it's about an author. So I think I probably previously got up to chapter 3. So in terms of expectation, I knew roughly what the game was about already. And the first time I played it, I had zero expectations of it at all because I didn't really play grown-up games in those days. I was more... you and I, as we've talked about before on the podcast, grew up playing Nintendo games.
Yeah. Silly, cute,
so the
fun
idea
games.
of playing a kind of first-person, very narrative-heavy game, or a third person, as this is, narrative-heavy game, it wasn't something you really got much in Nintendo. It was a lot more about the worlds, the characters, the magic, and also a lot of local co-op games we used to play with Nintendos. It was is one of my first sort of grown-up games, I'd say, that I actually played. So going into this one, I knew that I loved the first iteration of it. I knew that the story had stayed with me, which is something that Remedy are really good at. Remedy create really immersive worlds and characters that you care about. I was really keen to get back into the story and actually finish it and see it through. And I'm a braver gamer now. Things used to scare me a lot more. And I think since getting through the whole of Resident Evil Village, because previously I couldn't play games with zombies especially if they were first person.
Yeah.
I could just about third person it, but not first person. And getting through Resident Evil Village, I think made me a braver gamer.
Braver gamer.
And going back to Alan Wake, I was determined to get through it.
Yeah. Oh, nice one. Oh, brilliant.
Yeah.
I guess once you got into the game, what's good about it? What does it do really well then?
Oh, it's brilliant. So Alan Wake is, as I said, he's a writer. He's a successful thriller writer who, it transpires, has a drinking problem and hasn't been able to write anything in 2 years, has a slightly tempestuous relationship with his wife. And so she sort of semi-tricks him into going on holiday to Bright Falls. But when he gets there, he realizes that she's organized this sort of therapy with this creative this therapist that specializes in creative practice and problems with artists and creative blocks and things like that. So immediately he's betrayed. He's oh my god, Alice, what are you doing? He's and he's kind of an amazing but also unlikable character at the top.
Yeah.
He's just a bit of an arsehole. Like, he's really famous. He turns up at this place. Everyone knows who he is. And like people want a photo with him and stuff like that. And he's like, oh God.
Can't be bothered.
And he's got this agent who keeps ringing him to see that Barry, who I'll mention a lot, who keeps ringing him. He's like, oh, how's it going with the book, Alan? And this is all in the beginning, right? So you get this really lovely context of who the characters are, what his problem is, and where he is being this new place. And this location's really interesting. It's very beautiful. It's a kind of, I think it's America, but it looks like Canada. It's one of those places.
So what, like Northern America kind of area?
It either is Canada or it's that bit of America that might as well be Canada in terms of the landscape. Yeah, it's very sort of like lots of pine forests and big lakes and stuff. Yeah, and it's an old mining town, and very quickly things go wrong. So you go from this sort of like journey into Bright Falls, and there's this prologue that sets up the whole story, which I think, and I'm mentioning this as a positive because it really sets the tone for the whole story, where Alan Wake talks about himself, references a Stephen King quote right at the top, which I think really sets the tone of the whole story. And I think I've got the quote here, actually.
Oh, go on. Yeah, read it out.
Nightmares exist out of logic, and there's little fun to be had in explanations. They're antithetical to the poetry of fear.
Great accent, like, great impression.
Literally, like, there was a bad accent. But Alan Wake talks like that the whole way through, and he narrates how he feels and what's going on. But basically, he turns up this place, as I've explained, but very quickly things go wrong. He has this dream where he's like killed someone in a car crash, and then he wakes up and it was like all a dream. But during that dream sequence, he's got to like get to the light. And this becomes a theme for the game. So the theme is like the darkness is danger, and that's where all these sort of evil forces come into their powers, and the light is where you're safe, and you spend so much of the game chasing any light you can get, and everything just gets weirder and weirder and weirder. And the beauty of the game is you don't know, you're with Alan, like Alan's your protagonist, and he's running around in this third person game, and you don't know anything that Alan doesn't know, which I really like. So as a player, you are very much on the journey of discovery with him, like what the hell is going on in this place. And so you go from thinking this guy's a bit of an arsehole to just like really getting on board with him, because he realises he's been a total twat to his wife. But his wife goes missing. And again, this isn't a spoiler, it's like right at the top.
I was going to say, what happens to the other people? Are they all like dispatched off quite early, or? Like,
no, so his wife goes missing early on, so he spends the bulk of the game looking for his wife, and people keep telling him that his wife has died and that he just doesn't remember, and his not remembering is like PTSD, and he's like, no, I can't accept that. She's not dead. Like she fell in the water, but she's not dead. Like, I don't remember her dying. There was no cut in there, and they keep telling him like she's died. And yeah, it's really interesting. And then Barry, who I mentioned before, his agent, is like the best sidekick character that you ever get in any narrative game. Like, he is so wonderful. Like, I love Barry so much.
What makes him wonderful? He's
just so adorable. He's like a New York writing agent. He's the only person that Alan can trust in this town, because everyone is being influenced by these dark forces, and he's such a buddy. Like, it becomes a sort of buddy movie in this sort of horror game. He's just adorable. It's really hard to describe why. But so yeah, I keep getting diverted because I love this game so much. But essentially the positives are, I'd say number one, the story is excellent. It's really good. It's engaging, it's gripping, and I love the way that the game uses the idea of literary chapters. So even if you go into the menu, just going up and down the menu selections, it sounds like a typewriter. So it's got that feeling of a sort of old-fashioned writer. And there's a point in the game where you're sort of shut in the room with a typewriter and someone's trying to force you to write. So it's kind of got that.
Oh, a bit of misery in there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, a little bit of that. Yeah. There's a little bit of that vibe. The atmosphere, as you said, with Limbo is really unsettling. But also the moments that you have in the light when you're in the little town, when it's daytime, which get less and less and less as you progress through the chapters.
Oh no.
Are really gorgeous and bright, and the characters are all really chipper and like, oh hey, Mr. Wake, like no. It's a really lovely setting because it's so beautiful in the light and then so sinister in the dark.
Oh, really?
Because you've got so much wilderness around you.
Yeah.
There's an old mine. There's lots of mountains and hills and country roads. It's a really, really beautiful setting. So that's another strength. And also, it's a game that is satisfyingly and sometimes frustrating, but satisfyingly difficult.
Yeah.
The difficulty accelerates like massively at a point in the game, and you only have sort of two weapon options, which is your torch. Your torch is really important, and your best friend, and then an array of guns.
Yeah.
And you can only use one at a time. So whatever you've got, you can switch between I think two types of guns in your hand, but like you'll have usually a pistol and then either a shotgun or a rifle. So in terms of weapon choices, it's pretty modest.
Yeah.
In terms of combat, it's pretty basic.
Yeah.
But that adds to the difficulty and makes it really satisfying.
Ask, is there? Do you need to shoot stuff, or is it a case is there that kind of adaptive gameplay?
So what the light does, which is really a great sort of device, is it stuns your enemies because they're covered in darkness. So they're not actually zombies. They feel a bit zombie-like, but they're not zombies. They're people from the town. Yeah. And they're covered in darkness. This darkness has kind of clung to them and making them do things that they wouldn't normally do. It's kind of a dark... They're called the Taken in the game, and it's like a dark presence has sort of possessed them, let's say. And you kind of stun them with the light, and you can get a powerful torch at one point, which is very good. You stun them with the light, and then you can also melt the darkness off them.
Okay.
And you've got to get all of this sort of dark shadow off of them before you can actually really do them any damage with the gun.
So there is a certain element of darkness and then kill them.
Yeah, but there's a certain element of skill to this because as the chapters progress, like you start with a manageable amount of enemies and then it becomes like hordes.
Oh no.
There's loads. And then also there's poltergeists, so you might get there is a combine harvester sequence, which is one of my favourite gameplay sequences I've ever played, where there is a possessed combine harvester literally trying to kill you, surrounded by hordes of the Taken. It's really fun. You've got to run away from combine harvester. There'll be like gates throwing themselves at you and stuff, and so you have to burn the darkness away from those. And your best friend in this game is the dodge button. Yeah. And you learn very quickly that this is the skill of the game.
So you have to get out of the way of everything.
Know when to dodge and then know when to attack and know who to attack in what order. So you die a lot. Like it's...
So a bit like Inside, you're not Inside, sorry, Limbo, inevitably you're going to die.
A lot. It gets pretty tough, and the game is pretty resource light in some of especially in the mid chapters, where you don't always have enough batteries for your torch, and you definitely don't have enough bullets. So you really have to figure out how to strategically dispatch your enemies. And often the best way is to actually run away from them, to dodge and run. Another fun thing about this game, Alan, as I said, is a writer and a bit of an alcoholic. And something I love that they've done in this game, it is frustrating as a player, but very accurate for his character. He gets out of breath instantly.
Oh, really?
So you can run about 3 steps at a decent pace, and then he starts going...
God damn, Alan.
And you're just like, run, Alan! You're like, what's wrong with you? It's all these whiskies. But I think it's really good because we're so used to games where
you can just run forever.
Yeah, the central character's like superhuman for no reason. You know, it's fine if you're a Spartan or something.
Yeah.
But you know, if you're just a normal person and you somehow can just take out loads of enemies by punching them once and run for miles without getting tired.
It's got a bit of realism to it, actually.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I do get that sometimes, and it does make you a bit more aware that it is a game, actually. But yeah, there's one I'm going to talk about hopefully in the future where it does that, but like there's an underlying reason behind it. So yeah, it's good that it makes you feel you have to be a bit more, I guess, strategic in your use of when to run, and you have to think, I need to go there somewhere like quite close by. I can't just like run off into the distance. So that's good that they've done that. Yeah.
And one of the things I would say about the game, as we maybe move on to slightly more negative things, but again, it's part of the charm of the game. This is a 2010 game that's been remastered. And I'll talk about the remaster aspect in a bit. But to talk about the actual gameplay, the action is a bit janky.
Yeah.
It's kind of a bit slower than you want it to be. The gun accuracy, it's accurate enough. It's a bit janky. This isn't a shooter. And while Remedy Entertainment are very keen to describe this as an action adventure, it doesn't feel like one, because the priority in terms of the game design was never on the action, definitely on the adventure, but it really feels like a survival horror. And I know why they've come out and said it's an action adventure, is because Alan Wake 2 is going to be a survival horror, and they want to draw the distinction between the two types of game, because I think they're going to lean into the sort of unnerving, sort of slightly creepier side of Alan Wake, which is there now in the existing game, but there is a lot of enemies in this game, especially in the later chapters, which is why I think they're keen to sort of label this as an action adventure.
Yeah.
But honestly, playing this side by side with, I played Resident Evil 7 literally right after playing this, and this feels more of a survival horror than Resident Evil 7 does, because of all the action at the end of Resident Evil 7, which was 100% an action game when you had a machine gun and stuff. You don't have that in this. And also because dodging and running away is so important in this game, I say it feels, and there's no resources, like you're really, until right at the end of the game when you've got plenty of stuff, you are constantly trying to find things. Every single chapter you wake up with no torch, no gun, no batteries. And so you have to start again, like every chapter. It doesn't matter how much you've hoarded in the chapter before. So in that sense, it feels so much more like a survival horror.
Yeah.
But yeah, going back to the negatives, you can't really remaster the action that much. So the action is what it is.
Yeah.
And it's stiff, it's stilted. However, this to me makes it more of a skill game, because once you just accept that that's how the game is, and that it is hard because of that, you just get your head around it and you treat it like a puzzle. I dodge at this point, therefore I can spin round and shoot at that point. I dodge this guy, run, then just before I get out of breath, I turn around, blast and shoot this guy. Like it becomes a little sequence that when you die, you're like, okay, but I'll try it in this order this time. And there was one really hard bit in chapter 4 where I was like, oh my God, I'm stuck. This is one of those games as well where you pick your difficulty at the beginning and you can't change it halfway through.
Oh no.
And I just tend to play games on normal. So I picked normal and I was like, oh my God, I'm stuck. I haven't got enough torchlight. I kept running out of batteries for my torch. I haven't got enough bullets. I kept running out of everything. And I was like, you can't, there's no melee. So once you're out of torch and bullets, you're done. You've just got to die.
No slapping any zombies.
There's no slapping, there's and as I said, your stamina is really crap. You can't run away indefinitely.
I guess you could also...
But I just played it and then did it, and then was like, okay, there was a way. I just was doing it the wrong way.
I guess kind of going back to what you said about the clunkiness and the fact he's an alcoholic, I guess you could kind of spin it in a way. Like, obviously, you're not going to be the most polished, like, you know, James Bond kind of guy.
Exactly.
Being able to dodge out of the way. Yeah, you're going to be a bit, what's the word? Bit sluggish because of your health.
A bit sluggish. And that is the gameplay. And I don't I don't think it's meant to be quite as sluggish as it feels, but it does work.
Yeah.
And also, they do this lovely thing in Alan Wake where if you time your dodge really well, you get like a little cinematic slow-mo.
Oh, yeah.
Where like the enemy will be throwing a tomahawk over your head just as you dodge out of the way. And it's quite satisfying because if you get that little cinematic slow-mo, you're like, I dodged at just the right time.
Yeah.
And it just feels really good. So there is a satisfaction to how difficult parts of this game are. And I'd say that is the biggest negative for this version of the game.
Yeah.
The older version of the game, if you look at it now, the faces are ridiculous.
Oh, really?
They just look ridiculous. Like the rendering of all of the characters, the skin looks horrible. It's really rubbish. But now, I tell you what, they've done such a good job in the remastering. Like, Alan Wake now looks almost exactly like the character who voices him. Sorry, the actor who voices him. They look really good. Alan Wake's also like weirdly hot.
Don't tell your husband.
Even though he wears bootcut jeans and a weird sort of tweed blazer with a hoodie underneath.
Okay.
It's so 2010. But yeah, they look really good. They do slightly have weird necks, I'd say, in the remaster. Like the necks are a bit too flexible.
Well, like someone's head is just like bent over to the side.
Yeah, the way that they've kind of rendered the necks just look a bit too like they've got like not duck neck, like almost like a floppy turkey neck or something.
Okay.
But it's a minor thing, but their clothes look great, the scenery looks great, the cars look good. So considering this is an old game that's been sort of polished up, it looks bloody good actually. Nice. So yeah, negatives wise, that was it. It's just a bit janky on the action.
Oh, fantastic. So I guess the next thing would be, is there anything of note that really brings you, like anything unique about this game? Yeah, go for it. Yeah, I just absolutely love this game. I think that the whole game works really well as a package, both the atmosphere, the sound work, in terms of sound design, so things like the typewriter keys, as I mentioned on the menu, but also just driving, guns, the sort of noise that kicks in when you do your sort of slow-mo dodges, all really great, really lovely sound design. But on top of that, this company, this developer, Remedy Entertainment, works so well with licensed music. They pick the best songs to drop in at the right point. And in Alan Wake, it's something you look forward to. At the end of every chapter, you get rewarded with a song. So you get a piece of licensed music. Oh, wow.
And it really, really works. So the song choice will sort of almost feed into what you've just played through. Yeah. So like you get things like Roy Orbison in Dreams is the end of the first chapter. You get a Nick Cave song, ends Up Jump the Devil. I think that was the end of chapter 3. The whole game ends with a bit of Bowie. Yeah. It's Life on Mars. Space Odyssey, that's what it's called. So they just use licensed music really well, which I think is something that, having played other Remedy games, is done really well, particularly in Control, which I know I gave a really high score to. Like, there's a few sequences in that where the way they use licensed music is just outstanding and just levels the game up to 11. Yeah. It's just so good. But yeah, I think this is a game that deserves its reputation, and I wouldn't be put off at all by how old the original kind of core of the game is. Yeah. If you like, it's a sort of surreal horror, like as in spooky horror. There's no like blood and gore as such, because you're sort of shooting sort of shadow creatures. Yeah. But it is also quite scary in parts as well, because of the atmosphere that it creates. And you're going in and out of what is real and what isn't real, which I think is really great. And Remedy do this other thing in all their games, is that they use a third sort of I can't think of words at the moment, like they use a third media. So they use like real footage. So like, what do you call that? Live action. They use live action within the video game world. So occasionally you'll find a TV or like a security camera and there'll be a video playing. And that is a live action scene that will play out. So like there's a kind of detective story that you kind of see episodes of.
Yeah.
When you go into certain rooms and there's a TV, and the way they do that, and it's really cool. And there's a thing that's almost like the Twilight Zone that comes on these TVs. And also you find radios in the world when you're exploring. And if you turn the radio on, it'll be a kind of late night radio show hosted by a character that you actually meet in the game.
Yeah.
And they're talking about what's happened in Bright Falls.
Yeah.
And talking about things that you've done. And it's just really, really well done. And they really blow the world out, even though it's a action adventure constraint. Like you can only go where you can go.
Yeah.
It's not an open world. But I think they do a really great job. And this is just a Remedy thing. Like they just do a really great job of finding these really interesting worlds and really interesting characters that you buy.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic.
Yeah. And also I love Barry and his God bless Barry and his cushy red puffer jacket.
Bless him.
That remaster on that puffer jacket, that looked like the coziest puffer jacket. You just wanted to push your face into it and go,
Well, it sounds like they've done a really good job of remastering it in terms of the graphics then, if they've made it look that good. I mean, looking at the graphics of it, it looks like just some images at the minute. It looks really cool.
If you look at a side-by-side of the remaster and the original, it's kind of amazing.
Yeah. Okay, I'll have to give that a look. But it kind of reminds me, it's like got a similar kind of... what is that game with the kids who end up going to that weird cabin in like the mountains? We've both played it. Yeah, it's another survival horror game.
Kids going to
they go like
cabin.
they go up into the mountains and.
Do you mean Oxenfree?
No, not Oxenfree.
With the sound thing.
No, the one with
it's not really a survival horror.
Is it Rami Malek in it?
Oh my God! Until Dawn.
Yeah, Until Dawn. Like the kind of.
Yes. No, this is way better than that.
I meant like
you
in terms
like
of,
the characters.
Oh no, I mean in terms of the actual visual of it, like looking at the art style of like the environments, kind of gives me that same kind of vibe. The way they've made it very dark, very gloomy. Again, because you're in that, it feels like a similar kind of part of the world as well.
Yeah, it's really like the nature's so beautiful. I think it's very clever to set horror or eerie things in beautiful places because it sort of adds to the horror. It's great. I love it.
Yeah, seems like a really...
So shall I recommend it to some people?
Sorry?
Shall I recommend it to some people?
No, don't. Keep it as your little secret. Yeah, of course. Yeah, go for it. Recommendations. Like, who is this for?
I'm going to recommend this to... I think it is creepy, so please adhere to the Peggy rating suggestion on this. I wouldn't give it to tiny children. Also, it is hard. I would recommend this to anyone who likes survival horror. Don't just ignore the fact it's labelled as an action adventure because it really, it isn't. And anyone who has heard about it and is like, is it worth going back and playing this one before I play Alan Wake 2? Yes, play it. Also, if you like any of Remedy's other games, like Control, or even some of the older stuff, Max Payne, for example, you should have played this already. Just play it. If you're going to get annoyed by slightly janky action, get over it, but or just don't play this. But also, as I said, it totally feeds into skill, I think, and it's, as you said as well, Erim, like he's a alcoholic, unfit writer.
You're not going to be dodging out of the way very smoothly, are you?
Yeah, and I'd say just don't enjoy this game. You can play a chapter in an hour and a half. Some of them 2 hours because of having to die so much sometimes. But yeah, it's around a 10 to 12 hour game to beat. It's a really great length. Story's compelling. It's loads of fun. And Alan is like the hero that everyone loves to hate. And I just love it.
Brilliant.
Can't wait for the second one. Can't wait for the sequel.
Brilliant. Yeah, no, it sounds a bit like Limbo in that it's just a game that you should just give a go, even if it's not quite your genre. Like, It sounds like it's the
the only thing I'd say is if
given.
you're a bit of a scaredy cat, like I used to be.
Well, get over it. You said
it will creep you out. Like, it will creep you out. It is scary. It is disturbing in parts, but it's not blood and gore.
Yeah.
And it's not a first person, so you can sort of feel slightly more distanced from the threats, if you will.
Yeah.
But yeah, you will die. I mean, or play it on baby ass mode, like play it on easy. But I think normal is totally. Yeah. If you want a satisfying game, you can play it on normal. But once you've completed it, you can play it on like whatever the hard mode, nightmare mode, or whatever the hard mode is.
Okay,
go back in and try and.
I think that just
beat even more enemies.
That brings us nicely to our ratings then. So, I is this going to be a 10?
No, it's not. I can't because it's almost a 10, but it just can't be because of the slightly janky ass gameplay.
Yeah, it needs to be perfect, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'd say so. So it is a 9 out of 10, though. Very good score from me. 9 out of 10.
Brilliant.
And I would say I didn't love the DLC. It's fine. That they are more action heavy. That is hordes and hordes and hordes of enemies, but it does extend the story a bit. So if you buy the remastered version, it usually has 2 of the DLCs with it. They're fine, but I think the game itself is what you want.
Yeah.
So play that.
Yay! Right, fantastic. Thank you so much, Jem. That's lovely. 2 very scary, creepy games.
Creepy games,
Yeah.
creepy worlds. And Barry's puffer jacket. Cool. Well, thank you so much for joining us for this episode of My Turn Podcast. You got any plans to play anything next, Erim?
Oh, I'm like quite a way through Dying Light now. So, very interesting game. Like, there's a lot of good. But there's just there's something very strange about that game. But
this is Dying Light 2 you're talking about.
Yeah, Dying Light 2. I'm really I'm loving it though. Like, I think it's a wicked game. But there's something not.
Do you know roughly how many hours you've put in? Yeah,
God knows, probably over 20 though.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so you're not that far. Repeatedly, you can get 500 hours out of this game.
Jesus Christ.
That's what they said.
I mean, yeah, probably if you're playing it like Grand Theft Auto and like just running around just killing zombies. But like, it's quite satisfying to kill a zombie, to be honest.
Great.
And also jumping around like a lunatic. But yeah, I can't wait to... I think I'm going to give that more time though, because I really want the story to develop.
If you're only 20 hours in.
I think I need to find a couple more short games. There's probably a few that I've played in the past that we could talk about. But most of my gaming time is just absorbed by that in a minute. But yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, it's by all accounts, it's a good fun game. I've been playing Life is Strange True Colors, which I've been wanting to play for a while. That was one of that was often cited as in the top 10 of sort of people's Game of the Year reviews last year.
Yep.
Narrative heavy, point and clicky type game with a bit of open exploration in there as well. So yeah, I'm really I'm looking forward to getting to the end.
Nice.
Excuse me.
How far through are you of that then?
About halfway. It's not too long though. Most narrative games are sort of like 5-6 hours, I'd say, which is nice and manageable. And I just really enjoy a narrative game, and the story's good, the character's good, and so far I think this is some of the best dialogue I have ever experienced in a game that's kind of got a drama slant. So yeah, some heartfelt moments in there, but the dialogue writing is really good and the voice acting is amazing. So I'm enjoying it so far. And I always love the sci-fi elements in the Life is Strange games. They're sort of magical realism, basically. Yeah. So yeah, love it. So I'm looking forward to reviewing that next time.
Yeah, can't wait.
So please join us for our next reviews. And also, if you like what you hear, if you want to join our little community of gaming nerds, please share this podcast. Spread it among your friends and contacts. Give us a 5-star review.
Give us all the stars.
Get us up those charts. All the stars. And also, if there's any games, especially shorter games, as Erim says, that you think we should be checking out that we haven't done so far, give us a recommend, and we'll follow those up. I think that's it.
Yeah, that's
time
done.
To say.
Yeah, thank you all for tuning in, and I guess goodbye. See you on the next one.
See you next time. Bye.